young men. When I say young, I was at D-Day, I was barely 22 years old.
How old were you when you went into the service? Can you just explain like how old you were, where
19.
You were 19. And you were in the Navy. What year did you go in?
1942.
I became a licensed pilot when I was a sophomore in college. When I came home that Christmas, Pearl Harbor had occurred, so I went over to Westover and enrolled or joined the Air Corp, the Army Air Corp. They sent me to Texas, where I was trained. I was selected as a fighter pilot and got my wings and was sent to Florida to the School of Applied Tactics, where we played military games for a while. And then my squadron that I was with in Florida was activated, and we went as a squadron to Great Britain.
I ended up in Newport, Rhode Island. Spent 11 weeks there training. From New York, I ended up in Boston, where I picked up the ship. To go aboard ship, we went out to sea, did a lot of training. Then we ended up, we went to England, and we did more training out that way.
And we flew our combat missions from that position for about, I'd say 6 months to a year. We were doing ground support. Our losses were considerable. I was a captain by the time I was 21 years old because of the attrition, the losses that we had, and as people were killed in our squadron, they were replaced by replacements from the United States. After I'd been flying out of England for a period of months, it became obvious that the invasion of Europe was a necessity.
Are your memories clear of that day, D-Day, still?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They never fade, huh?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we knew that we were going to be into something, although we weren't not told of anything about it, but we were just sitting back and waiting for the time. Then on the 6th, we did pull out and headed for the coast in Normandy. We were the first ones to be fired on, and then we were the first ones to fire back. We were that close to the beach, and then everything started popping out all over the place. When the Army went in for the first landing, second wave, it was awful. They really got hit badly. The first and second wave, they took it badly.
I was in the 18th Infantry, Company F, 1st Division, which is the Big Red One. Then we got off at 6 in the morning. That was one of the first waves. You hit the water, you were up to your waist. Then you had to try to work your way off the beach up to the top. And they were shooting at us from every direction. You had landmines that were going off. They had what they call bumps and betties. They looked like a can of Campbell's soup. They put them in the ground, and they have an antenna, and they run the wire from one to the other. Well, you might not. Somebody trips the wire that goes up in the air and gets you right in the armpit. They were bad. They had them all over the place. And of course, you had the artillery to put up with. You'd have to hit the ground and take cover if you could, or else you had it. Well, if I took 4 or 3 hours, you couldn't move. You had to get in behind a rock or in a hole or something to take cover. And they kept after you, boy. They meant business.
It looked like bedlam. It was just rows and rows and rows of men, either swimming ashore or getting ashore through, and being in a situation that they couldn't control. I took my flight over there, and it was a very difficult mission to fly because you didn't want to harm your own people, and you still had the assignment of keeping the guns from shooting at them. So, and you couldn't make a mistake. And so we did a lot of strafing on that day. There was no enemy air support for that because the Germans were taken by surprise. There were no enemy aircraft, maybe 1 or 2, but didn't see very many.
And once they started unloading the boats, and go up on the shore, some of them would get stuck on the barbed wire in the water. They couldn't back off. They couldn't go straight, they couldn't do nothing. And they'd get hit direct, and that was the end of the whole crew.
There was a lot of LSTs, the landing craft, those were being hit very badly. Then there was what they call the floating jeeps. The Army had them. There was like a 4 or 5 man crew on it. They were supposedly to be going in. They were getting hit too. It wasn't very pleasant.
A lot of fireworks. And the worst thing I ever had, remember how we used to wear the leggings, the pants? I'm walking along and I heard a shot. I said, man, that's close. I ripped through my pants and never touched my leg. Then that night, when we were getting ready to quit, I was going along and a mortar shell fell in front of me and I hit the ground. It went off to hit my helmet right in the middle. It ripped it right open like a can opener, the shrapnel. So I just got a small cut out of it, that's all. The mortar fire was deadly, full of shrapnel. So I survived that day, and I said, well, maybe I'll make the rest.
Did you see a lot of your friends fall?
Oh yeah, screaming for help. The medics were all over the place, but what could they do? They got killed too. So you weren't safe any place.
It was an unbelievable sight to see 100,000 men, and of course I didn't know until many months afterwards that of the 100,000, 10,000 were killed on that day. The primary targets were the forts that were on like the Point of Hawk. They were gunnery positions that were welcoming our troops to France. And when we went back the second and the third time, there were still boats, our ships, that were unloading our men on the beaches there. So our targets were to stop them to blow them up, actually, to bomb them or strafe them.
We're really, really close. As a matter of fact, there was a church tower on the beach. Germans were using it for an observation post, And we were told to knock it out, which we did. And we could see the German soldiers running from one building to another. You can see them actually running. Some of the shells were firing, at us. None of them came that close, though. Well, in between, we were cruising back and forth across the beach, looking for targets, and we found some, and they were from the spotters. Some of those targets were pointed out for us, and we were shooting at them. Well, my job was, I was a water tender. I worked in a boiler room. When I was down below decks, you could hear the 5-inch guns going off, and I mean, they were going in rapid succession, you know. And then there's a lull, so I went up topside, take a look around at all the rest of the mess. Then we ended up, we had to go, we ran out of shells, ammunition. We left the area, went up to Wales to reload. Then we came back, and we stayed there for 3 or 4 days, searching, looking for other targets.
When our ammunition was used up, we went back to England, rearmed the airplanes with bullets in the wings and bombs under the belly or the wings, and got more fuel, and were sent back to the shores of France, and we did that 3 times in that particular day.
At night, the Germans, they had planes dropping floating mines in the water. And we came that close to one of them.
You were able to get off the beach? Is that what happened? What happened after that?
We went into St. Lo in France. That's where we were headed. And now all the way there you had landmines, artillery, machine gun fire, mortar fire, you name it, they had everything.
What day was that? Was it the first day?
First day. Second day is the same thing. Because they were fighting for their life just like we were, trying to survive. That's the way it goes. Yeah, after Normandy, we went into Belgium, went into Holland, Czechoslovakia, all the way to the border for the Germans.
Did you go into Germany?
Yeah,
What was that like?
nice country. Very nice. But it's pretty well tore up though. The people, some of them treated you all right and the others didn't. Well, you can't blame them until their houses are gone, everything's gone. The Air Force done a job on them. Then I went to some of those concentration camps. Those are, you wouldn't believe there. Boy, we'd find them, those people would come out screaming, crying. They were hurting so bad. They were about that big. They had no food. They treated them, Jesus, terrible. I'll never forget it, that's for sure. I wouldn't want to go through it again.
It wasn't very pleasant for the Army, not at all. Being part of it, and to see how things went there, to actually be there to see everything. Every once in a while, you recall up here, and you just keep remembering every once in a while. You don't forget that.
Well, I think when something is as monumental as World War II, where Russia, where not only tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of people died, with that kind of a conflict, to have any portion of humanity forget it is abhorrent to me. I think one of the nicest things that happens to me, or even to I go back occasionally, or on a yearly basis to the reunion of my squadron. Well, the squadron has shrunk very much. We're all older men. What pleases me or any other man who has seen combat, when young people today are told that we have seen combat, and usually the men will turn around and say, "Thank you for your service." And that's a very pleasant thing, that somebody remembers it today.